Hello, finally. Oh, I hope some people find me. This was quite a chore to try and get on here, and I don't know how long I will be able to stay on. Maybe the internet is unstable tonight or something, but it finally looks like it's working. So I couldn't type anything. This is my third time. Wow, I don't know why this. Okay, I've done this 10 weeks in a row. You'd think it would get easier. Anyway, here I am. Oh, Sue, you found me. I don't know what happened. This time it did some weird things. So, wow. How are you? I had an awful time tonight getting on here. Okay, I know you don't want to hear about me arguing about technical difficulties and fighting with the internet. And Remy is right here. I don't know if you can see her. There she is, leaning right up against the sewing machine. I am good, Sue. I'm glad that you are well. Um, yes, once again, I didn't schedule this, but I do it every Friday night. I'm an hour later than last week because last week it was a great big giant storm and I didn't even think I'd have power. So I didn't know how long it was going to last, is why I went on early last week. And this week is just the time that seems to work for other people. So I am on vacation this week. I'm wearing a recycled t-shirt that was a men's t-shirt. Oh, there were two other people there, but they left. Oh no. I know. I did type it in the chat, but that I was having technical difficulties. It wouldn't, the second time I tried to come on, it wouldn't even it wouldn't load. It just kerplunk. So that's too bad. Hopefully they will see. I know it took me like 15 minutes now to go live. You think I would learn? It's a little tricky sometimes, I guess. So I hope they will find it, or maybe they'll watch later. But yeah, I know, and I have to sign out or I have. It's hard to. I can't take down the other ones. Oh, they were there early, just at 9. Oh, well, it's 11 o'clock my time, and I think last week I came on. It was 10 o'clock my time. So I know for other people, it's I don't know. Anyway, I am doing my best. So I made this is the top that I am talking about. I guess you can't see because my lid is up. Flip my lid. So this is a t-shirt and this fabric was given to me by someone, uh just scraps, and literally I use every single one just to make this. It's like this is just like a polyester fabric. It has flowers on it and stuff. Anyway, I wanted to try this pattern, so I will show you. It's another, yes, I know, me and the Lekala ones, but the reason why I like Lekala patterns, you can see Remy's little eyeball sticking out there. One thing about doing lives, you never know what's going to happen. Remy, are you going to say hello? No. You'll be able to see the freckles she has in her eye. Anyway. So this is sewing pattern number. Sue says hello to you. Oh, she's taken off. Lekala number 5666. So that's what it looks like. And here is the line drawing. And those are the instructions. So as you know, you don't get a lot of instructions. And the instructions for this, apparently I've never read them before because I'm already going, oh. Yeah, it's really cute. It does have a cutout, but as you can see here, it's not very big and it's not a low top, so you get the cutout without the low, really low. Okay, on the instructions it says sew the shoulder seams first, and then you would just, I have quite a bit of stuff laying around here. Sew the shoulder seams together first, and then just serge your edges and fold them over and sew them. Now, because of the tie detail, this is the front and this is the tie. So I will hold it up. And they're telling you not to sew it together yet, the front. So you would have two of these. You're going to see the stitching, and you're going to me, that just, if you're going to go through all the trouble and take the time to very carefully sew flat all the way around the edges of this neckline, well, I'll show you this picture of the neckline and the shoulder seams, like everything that's in black, that would all be single layer, and then you would have to serge it or just fold it, and that's going to stretch, and it's going to look, you'll be disappointed with the finish. You'll think, it doesn't look so pretty. So this pattern is only two pieces, the back and the front. So what I did is I cut 4 2 mirror images, like 2 layers of each. I cut 4 and then 1 back. So yeah, that's something that bugs me about Lekala is you could very well just do half of that and just cut it on the fold. Like, why do you need the extra paper? Anyway, little pet peeve of mine. So I'm going to show you what I did. So because the pattern doesn't allow for a seam allowance around here, I added it. So what am I showing you? So you can pay for seam allowances, but because the shirt is just, there's no seam allowance added on the pattern, I had to add that. So I added this because they just want you to roll, basically fold it over and hem it. So I added the same seam allowance, which is like what, a centimeter? I don't even remember. What's this? Yeah. That's in inches. Let's see what, because I think they do their seam, yeah. Centimeter, 3/8 of an inch, a centimeter seam allowance around the parts that they want you to do that, because I'm going to sew them together. I'm sorry I am rattling the camera, but I had all kinds of technical difficulties tonight, so I had to move the camera. So the camera's on the table and it's going to jump up and down when I'm sewing. So the back piece, you don't have to, I did have to add seam allowance on the neckline, just the neckline, because it was included in the shoulder seam, and that's me adding it here. And on the sleeves, or where the sleeves would go, the armhole. Have I made it completely confusing now? It's okay, don't sweat the small stuff. Oh. You would just think after you do this 10 times in a row, you would remember. Or you would be prepared for the bad technique. Oh, I ironed this now, wrinkled it because I got it all folded up. So don't throw the directions away and just do what I'm doing. Actually, I'm going to show you the inside of this top so you know what I mean. So this top is like kind of scratchy polyester, kind of good muslin sort of fabric to use. Anyway, so that's what the front looks like. And then I tried to match the color with, that's kind of like a slub jersey. You're going to want to use something that's close to the same stretch as what you're using if you're using two different fabrics, or maybe you want to do contrasting fabric. But that is a much nicer finish. No raw seams showing. And hopefully in an hour I will be able to show you how I did the shoulders as well. You really can't see very well. But yes. So basically just line the top, and I use bias tape that I made out of this inside fabric. And yeah. I just think it's a better finish, and if you wanted to make this top and you didn't know how to do it without having them, or maybe you're okay with the messy edging, that's fine. Do that. But I think this has a better finish on it. Because the neckline is, you can see there's bias here. It's probably not showing up so great, but there's the wrong side, or my lining fabric. You're not going to see the wrong side of the fabric. You can here, but not on here. Am I making it hard? Sue's saying it's a better finish. So I had some of this purple fabric. I just throw that on the floor. Fling it. Shouldn't do that. I spent a long time making this. It didn't have a pin in it. So, and as you can see, I added a band, which did not turn out very well because that's all the fabric I had. And so that's the other thing I did, because I tried to reach the pattern piece that I just threw on the floor. I did add 2 inches to the length of this one because this was just barely the right length, but you wouldn't be able to tuck it in or anything. Oh, Christine found me. I know I had a hard time getting on here, and Sue, I had to shut everything down and start over. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you. Oh, I threw everything on the floor. Lekala number 5666. Hopefully, I don't think I'll be able to make the whole thing in an hour, but I'll show you the parts that I change because this is the instructions you get with it, and I didn't like the finish that you would achieve if you follow their instructions. I'm on fire tonight. Yes, I'm throwing everything on the floor, and me and YouTube were not getting along about 15 minutes ago. So I do try and be ready for these things, but sometimes it doesn't work. So on this top, I sew the center seam first from here to here, and then you don't even need a serger, and I top stitch this. You don't have to do that, but when I put two knits together, like even on a facing like this, I always sew it down because depending how wide it is and once you wash it, I find it all curls. It makes me mad. It drives me crazy. So I want that seam to stay flat. So if you want to serge it, you can, but you don't have to. And I just sewed that with the straight stitch, and you're all going, oh, don't do that, but I did. That's what I'm doing. So just to hold the seam in place, and there we go. It'll be wonderful. And I throwing more things on the floor. I don't know why, but getting all wild and crazy here tonight doing the so yes, this is a knit, and yes, I sew. It's only, oh, I guess Christine missed this part where I cut two fronts. So this would be a front, and then the one that I'm sewing right now is another front. And this is what it looks like when you sew the front together. If I can grab hold of it. I don't know if this is important, but these are your little, going to be your ties. And if you're using a really lightweight knit and you're worried about it stretching, this is what I do. There's probably a better way, but I take knit interfacing. I don't know what I think is over here. I take knit interfacing. It looks like a knit and it stretches a little bit. And I just cut barely half an inch of interfacing on the bias of scraps that I have. And then you can iron it on the wrong side of your fabric, and you could go all the way around. I just did the shoulder seams. You could do around this part, but I'm sewing other fabric to this, and I think it'll be stable enough. And this isn't meant to be untied, like there'd be no reason to untie it, to take it off or whatever. But if you want to, you could do that and just sew it or sew it. It must be late because I can't talk. Exactly, Sue. Straight stitch is okay if there's no need for it to stretch. I do it all the time. Actually, I sew all the seams and then I might serge them like on a sleeve or whatever. I do it all the time. So, if you had, what's it called, that Mariflex thread, I do not have any, but I bet you that would work fine, and you could do it, words are hard, you could use straight stitch and not worry about it at all. But I do it all the time, and I don't have any problem. And we're never going to get this sewn together if I don't sew something. So I'm going to sew that seam now. which I really wish I already had done, because that's going to be boring. So you can, that doesn't look bad. I didn't really have the right color thread for this. It was either going to be dark purple or whatever this color is. I don't know what color it is. All right, there's one side, and I'll show you what it looks like. I don't know if I'm going to like this or not. Doesn't show up at all on here. You'd think it would, but it didn't, because I did do it on there. And this is very rolly knit. It wants to roll. Yes, I don't like it either. I don't like finishing. I usually use twin needle, and I really don't like doing the zigzag. I just dislike it. So there's this one. Can you see that stitching line that I just sewed down there? You see threads. And there's the inside. You can see how crooked my seams are. That's another thing that I don't do is I don't use a rotary cutter to cut these out. So if you think that you can't, there's a big flaw in this fabric. I guess this one is for the inside. So if you think you can't sew knits because you don't have a rotary cutter or mat or a serger, it's all phooey. You can get away with it. You can use regular scissors for cut fabric, and you can use your straight stitch. Because my clothes do not fall off me when I walk in public because I didn't use a zigzag. So what is some sewing news that all you people have? Christine, do you use the zigzag stitch all the time if you're still there? I use it for some things, but I don't use it as often as perhaps I should. All right. So this is going to be the inside because there is a big flaw in this fabric. I bought this like really cheap, and I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not. It's like it's sun faded or something. There's a big line down there. Yes, I like to break the rules, Sue. Or Sue and Christine. I don't always, like, obviously if you're sewing in a sleeve, I sew around it twice with a straight stitch. and then I would zigzag it or serge it. Oh, so sorry everyone if I'm not looking at the cameras because I'm reading your comments. Sue says she has her fabric all washed up and ready to sew. It's been very hot where you're at, and her sewing room stays really warm. I don't blame you there. When it it was not too bad here today, and it did get hot this afternoon for us. And I don't know, remember the temperature because this is not a weather channel. Although I think I talk about the weather a lot on here, which is going to bore you guys right to death. Anyway, can't help it. It's we're surrounded by it. So, um, there was a point, and it's gone now. What was I gonna say? Oh, I broke out into a sweat trying to set up all this equipment. I found it really warm, and I thought it's like the middle of the night now, so it's not really that bad. Sue, did you decide on what you were going to make? And Christine, you should tell us what you're working on now, or if you are, because you weren't feeling well for a while. If you're back to sewing, it's getting. I know my garden is overflowing with mostly weeds, but the squash is just it's taken over everything. It's gone crazy. Today would have been a good day to be outside doing some gardening. And I am on vacation this week, but I have mostly been doing administration stuff that I was all behind on. So I've been doing that. And something else that'll be coming up is Project Dress a Girl. So I will be doing that. So if you're wondering what I'm doing right now, I am fighting trying to get this to line up. Now, luckily with this fabric, you see how quickly that rolls? It's rolling to the wrong side. Not all knits are the same that way. Some of them roll to the right side, and some of them, I don't know, maybe they all roll to the wrong side, but I know where I work, it doesn't always work that way. So, I need to somehow, I'm going to line up my center seams and sew them right sides together, my front to back. And I already added on me going to the floor again. Uh, Christine might have missed this part. I had to add seam allowance all around here because the pattern doesn't allow for this thing that I'm going to do. So I'm just lining up my little ties, and I'm just going to sew 1 centimeter seam allowance with the evil straight stitch all the way around. I'm pretty sure that's how I did this last time. It was quite a bit of work actually doing that top. And I'm trying to remember, did I do something else? But no, I'm pretty sure this is what I did. Oh, Christine, you had pneumonia. My hands and feet are crazy itchy. I was too sick to sew. I'm hoping to sew this week though. Oh, I hope you're feeling better, Christine. That is awful. What a horrible time of year to get sick too. Especially you must be getting hot weather there as well. I really like. Okay, Sue is saying that she likes the top. How do I get that pattern? I hope you're talking about this one. I assume that that's what we're doing. Um, you just go to Lekala sewing patterns. You can just enter the number. It's 5666. It's starting to creep me out. I'm sewing a lot of patterns with the number 666 in them. It is starting to be a thing. 5666, because it's hard to find anything on Lekala, and they do have a couple of other tops that are similar to this one that has sleeves. This one has no sleeves with it. I do find that Lekala drafts a really good sleeveless sleeve. You would think that I was drinking. I haven't, but uh, they draft a nice armhole, like it doesn't go way down, probably because it is a sleeveless top. But I know I seen one that did have sleeves in it. So it's like, I'm sorry I asked. After all that, but yes, I will put it in the description. I had to. It was there in the other one. I will do it again, and if I don't stop talking, I'll never get this sewn together. But But yeah, so I just cut an extra front so I can do a nicer finish and add this. Don't forget to add the seam allowance, otherwise you will be having a much lower neckline. Okay, I want to make sure my seam allowance for my fronts are lined up, although you probably wouldn't be able to tell if they were off a little bit. But I want that to be nice and rounded in here, so I'm going to take my time going around there. I know you can't see what I'm doing very good, but if I start flopping the camera around and everything is rolling on me, stop it. All right, what's happening? Sue said she was wondering, but was too polite to ask. Polite to ask. That maybe I was drinking. All right. Yes, and all my quick time of I typed out the description and copy and pasting everything to get back on here quickly because there's something I'm doing wrong when I go live and the camera won't work. And then the second time I tried to do it, the whole thing wouldn't work. So I was thinking, oh, maybe I have a bad connection, but so after that I thought everyone's gonna leave if I don't just come on. So okay. So sewed all the way around. It still stretches some. Well, aren't you clever, Sue? She soaks her knits and chiffon in unflavored gelatin to make it not roll. It's funny you should say that. This smells really good. It doesn't smell like grapes, but obviously, whatever I washed it with, it smells really good. All right. So I would check to make sure that that's a really good idea, Sue. I actually never heard tell of that before. I am learning something today too. For some reason, I have no scissors because they're behind me. So I'm gonna clip this. You shouldn't, because this is a knit, you shouldn't have to really clip too much. I'm gonna clip a little bit, and oh my goodness, looks like that is freaking crooked. Like crazy. There's going to be some unpicking in my future because remember I said you got to go careful? This is like very crooked. All right, I'll fix that. I don't know what I was. I must have been talking there. But I'm just going to clip a little bit around the knot. You probably don't even have to. I'm just doing it a little bit. All right. That is crazy messy. Look at that mess I did there. It's like square. I don't know what happened. That's what this thing is for. It's a tool for the job. I don't know what's happening. That's really crooked. Yes, this thread doesn't match very well either. It's the best color I had. It was that, or I was going to end up using cream colored or something. I should have checked to see if I had the right color thread before I cut this out. That would have been the clever thing to do. We can't have everything. So I'm just lining up my old stitching that isn't a mess. Hopefully this will be better this time. Look at me concentrate. Can't do two things at the same time. All right. And I think I should clip this a little bit. I'm going to trim it a little because it's a small little area. Let me know how you like. Sue says she's going to get some. I've never seen it here in Canada to try it. Like the only store in my area is mostly a quilt shop, so they wouldn't. I've never seen it. But if they do get it, I'd like to try it too, just to see what all the fuss is about. And if anybody doesn't know what it is a stretchy thread that you use like your regular thread for designed for knits. So just you can tell when you're turning your t-shirt out whether you have too much seam allowance or not, and I kind of push on the seam to make sure it's gonna all stick out, and I would press this. Now I want to make sure my inside with my big sun mark or whatever that is on there, it's going to stay that way. See how that, I'm going to want to push that all out. And I suppose you could top stitch it depending on the fabric, but I'm not going to top stitch this. I will understitch it where I can. And I'm just going to tie it a little bit. So that's going to look much better. So the first step in the sewing pattern of Lekala, they want you to sew the shoulder seams together. So I did the front. So this front part is basically finished. You have, don't worry about this. We're going to treat that all as one layer. And I'm going to use this to sew onto my back. I'm going to open this out, sew my side seam to my back, and then I'm going to cover it and pull it, sew across it again, and then flip it out, and it'll be all finished seams. Okay, that's what we're going to do. This is actually quite a bit dark. I should use the dark purple, but I thought that'd be like using black. So, yeah. So that's what we're going to do. Did I understitch this? Yes, I did. Had to check. So I'm not going to start right at the top because I'm just going to leave a little bit, probably about a centimeter. So this is how, if you're using the same fabric like I am, but I have a big flaw in mine, so I got to make sure this is on the inside. So my understitching that I'm going to do as far as I can go, which is going to be probably to about here, is I'm going to do that now instead of talking about it. Okay. You're just going to go as far as you can until it gets awkward. And I'm going to stop right there. I don't have a lot of bobbins, so I shouldn't be pulling thread out like that. Okay. So I'll hold this up to the camera so you can see what I did. So I understitched. I left a little space there and sewed all the way to there. Because you're not going to be able to sew around here. I would press that flat with an iron so that stops happening. And I wouldn't stress myself about understitching everywhere. But once we do all this prep work, you're going to have a nicer finish than what they told you you were going to have. So now I'm doing the other side. And Sherry should be going a little bit faster. Sue, did I already say, did you decide on what you are going to be making? And Christine, if you're still there, did you know what you're going to sew next week where you haven't for a while? Something you've been looking forward to? And Sue, I almost sent you some pictures this week of, I Googled linen dresses. I was going to send you some pictures. Yes. Okay. So I have my understitching done as much as I can do. So now, what am I going to do about the back? Because I don't want to leave. So there's the wrong side. So I did sew some interfacing to the back, or I ironed it. Some interfacing to the back. And I'm just going to put binding here. And I cut it, and I've been flinging stuff around and moving things around. And here it is. It's on the floor as well. It seems like my tables are so full of things, now everything is on the floor. Okay. I'd say I cut this a little too wide. But that's, where's my neckline? All right. So I'm going to, so I cut this. You have sewing room fairies. Why didn't you? I don't know. I thought, well, she might not like these dresses, and then I just didn't send them. Because I thought, I know, looked on Pinterest and stuff. Okay. If I still have them, I'll send them to you. So I cut this 1 3/4 inches. I always do that. Like they'll say 1.5 inches, and I add on an extra 1/8, or I just find it easier. Especially with wovens, I find it way easier to do that. I always cut my own binding, and I don't have one of those little tools because I don't think you need one. I'm just going to fold this in half, and I am going to just cut that off because that's going to be on the shoulder, and it's going to be, so right side, so there's my shoulder, and I'm just going to stick that up a little bit and sew that along the neckline. It's hard to show you because I'm just holding everything up, but there. So I'm just going to sew from here to here, and this is my shoulder, and I am just folding that in half like you were doing a neckband. I'm not going to pull it a lot because I'm not going to really pull it really at all. It's mostly to stabilize the neckline because there's not much of it there. It's not really a neck band. It's more like binding. So and you'll be pleased to know that the cat is snoring again, but you probably won't be able to hear her because she's over there on the cutting table. And that's something that I will be working on next week, is cleaning this place up because my cutting table is just got about this much room to cut on right now. Like, I have way too many things on the go. All right. So that's what that looks like. Now, if this was an entire neckline, you would have to measure the neckline and then figure out your percentage of what your stretch is going to be. Like, cut the band a little bit smaller than your neckline. But that's what that looks like. Oh. Well, I think if I cleaned my cutting table every time I used it, it would be in much better shape than it is. I've just been piling everything. I have so many projects that are unfinished. And I know that you guys are not like that. But I am. So now I'm basically understitching it. I'll show you what I'm doing. So there you go. So you could leave that like that, but then you've made the neck shorter or like higher up. So now I have that sewn on there. I sewed it like that. And now I'm going to sew it on the inside. And I'll just be able to cut that off. That part that's sticking up. And it's rolling. That's what I'm looking at right now, trying to get it flat. All right. And that little bit will be cut off anyway in the seam. So I basically just understitched it, and now I'm going to sew again right along here. So, and then you'll have a nice neat finish. Or I think it looks neat. I do this a lot in quite a few of my makes. All right. All right. And I'm just gonna hack that off. I think there's probably a better technical term than hack, but cut that little bit off. So this is what the inside looks like. You have your understitching line of stitching and then another one. And then that's what you are going to see on, wow, the eye is so crooked on the inside, but on the outside, that's what it looks like. I don't know why it's so crooked. What was I doing? Anyway, it's nice and even on the outside, as you can see there. So we're not going to worry about my messy sewing on the inside. All right. Now, to do this part, and then the rest of the t-shirt is pretty straightforward. So we want to put right sides together. So I'm going to take my, that's the wrong side. We want right sides together. So this is the right side. There's my shoulder. And then I'm going to open this out. That's our shoulder seam. And the right side, okay, how did I do this before? So you want to line up the binding that you just sewn on. Getting rid of these threads because they're driving me crazy. All right. So this is what I'm doing. There's the back. Gonna line up our shoulder seam like that. And I'm going to line up the inside of here with the edge of my neckline. So you don't want it sticking way out. And I'm going to sew it like that. I'm going to wrap it right around the neckline. I'm going to pull it. And then I'm going to line up. So you're going to have 3 layers. Can you guys even... That's all right, we're not like that. No, you guys aren't. I'm a mess. But you guys are nice and neat. I just know it. And everything does line up. Even though we're adding, what we're doing is adding extra steps. But we're going to achieve a nice finish. And it's going to be all nice and neat. So we're going to just wrap that right around those. Line up your neckline right into that seam and we're going to pull it. And I would start on that side and I would pull it. Not a lot, but just enough to make sure that there's no space. And it's a little fiddly. So it's hard to hang on to. But it does work. And it's a knit, so you should be able to pull it. And I'm still using the same seam allowance that the pattern said. It's probably better just to tack it in place. And make sure you got all your other layers lined up, which I don't. It's kind of hard to pin it, so make sure your needle's down if you're going to pick your presser foot up and do any adjusting, like I'm doing right now. I don't know why I'm telling you guys that. You guys all know how to do this stuff. I guess this would be similar to, I don't know what we call this, whatever I'm doing. So I'm just trying to line up the shoulder seams because I got one way over here, one up here. Great, and we'll just finish sew straight across. And we'll see what kind of job I did. I'm going to open it up and I'll show you what that looks like. Get rid of all these threads. So there, that's what that looks like when you sew it together. So there's the other side. And then we're going to, let's see if we get that weird bump. Oh, not bad. It's not a lot. There is a little bit of a bump there. Better if it's perfectly flat. But I can live with that. So that's what the inside looks like. So you don't have to serge that seam. Sew it across. Now I do have some, this is the inside, remember, a little bit of that interfacing hanging out, but it's on the inside. But the seam is all finished. And the outside, you're gonna get a little bit of a bump. You just don't want it way out because it easily can. So if you pull it, you're gonna get as close to there, and nobody is gonna, like, it's gonna be way in here. Nobody's gonna come up to you and say, "Oh, you could have done a better job on that." Nobody's gonna say that. They better not. All right, I'm just making sure I get everything going. So right sides together on this. How am I doing this now? Oh. I'm gonna have this twisted 6 ways to Sunday. So yes. And then the neckline will be completely done. We're going to do the same thing as before. I'm going to line up. Is that? Yes. Right sides to right sides. Okay. I'm sticking a pin in there. So that's my back piece. And I'm lining it up with the center of this seam right here. I'm going to stretch over it a little bit so it doesn't stick out. I'm going to stick another pin in there. Gonna ram that under there right away. Ram it. Gonna place it under my. Seems to be very bulky. For some reason. Do I have something? I think I have something twisted. I do. I do. Okay. Now we're better. I had extra bulk than I needed. Alright. And I did pull it a little bit. It's not enjoying the thickness there. Okay. Oop. There we go. already been on here an hour. But these steps will help you achieve a better finish. Now I'm just gonna check and see how bad. Oh, that's even better than the other one. All right, I'm gonna sew over it again because I don't think I caught everything, but it worked really well. All right, do it again. Do it again. All right. Okay. So I've been on here for an hour, and I showed you the parts that I changed. Everything else, oh, except for the armhole, but I do the binding the same. Okay. So let's see how this one turned out. So I got a thread sticking out, but it doesn't even look purple on camera. It is purple, but and it's probably getting late. All right. So that is the inside. So I'm just gonna put it over. So the neckline is finally done. And then I just treat this all as one layer from here on in. I'm gonna I'll sew up the side seams next, and I treat this as one layer. So you can stay stitch that with a large stitch, like 1/4 inch seam, hold that flat, sew it to your back, and then I add binding the same way I do for the neckline. So it's not low, as you can see. It's not very, look, it's almost level with the scoop neck I have on here. And hardest part is tying a nice, now I would iron it before I tied it, but you can stretch it quite a bit. And then I have it on, I can't tie it. Because I want it to be flat. All right. And I'm pulling it quite hard. I haven't heard anything snap. So you can tie it however you like. So that's tied. I'm try and get closer so you can see. But as you can see, you get a nice finish on your neck. That seam is all enclosed here. And you can't see the wrong side of the fabric. It doesn't feel really thick. And then you just gotta sew up your side seams and put a binding on your armhole. And I would measure the armhole and make sure that you're not doing one tighter than the other. I think is it 70%? I would just look it up. So that's what I do instead of the understitching. But yeah, you see this pulled a little bit, but I've never ironed this or anything after I did it. So I just used, I used and bound the armhole. Same way I did the neckline. Sew it to the right side, understitch it, fold it over, and then sew around, and you get a nice finish. Sue says that it looks nice. It does fit nicely. It has a nice, the armhole looks low there, but it's not. And this is cute to wear underneath a blazer or even a shirt. So, oh, I missed Christine's message earlier. I've got to finish a pair of shorts she started. Better do it before summer's over. I know. I have 2 dresses that I've been thinking about, and I just don't wear dresses very often, and if I don't make them, and now I'm on vacation, this is when you would want to wear them, and probably not. But this is something that I would probably wear year round, pretty near. I like to wear tank tops underneath shirts and under, this would look nice under a blazer. So, whoops. So that is the changes I make to that pattern. If you give it a try, let me know and see how you liked it. And I think that's going to be it for me tonight, because we're already over an hour. What time is it? It's almost 12:30. Oh my goodness, it was past my bedtime. I'm going to turn into a pumpkin. Sue says she wears dresses all the time. They're so much cooler than shorts. Yes, I've been wearing shorts around the house. I used to wear wrap skirts all the time. That was my favorite thing to wear. But I have psoriasis on my legs really bad, and it seems to be, well, you probably can see I got one patch on my arm and then my legs are just covered. So if I wear a dress, I just do it at home. I can't wear it in public because then everybody is like, oh, if I wore tights or something, it'd be fine. There, a little bit too much information. You just never know what I'm going to say or whatever. Anyway, but yes, dresses are nice to wear. I like to wear sarongs and wrap skirts and stuff like that. All right. Well, I think that's going to be it. I am so glad that you took the time out to come hang out with me, and hopefully that gave you some ideas or some inspiration for the weekend. This isn't a hard top. I just think if you do these finishing techniques, you'll enjoy the outcome better. It just seems like that looks like it's on backwards or something, but there we go. It's kind of all there. It's too big for Madeline back there. Thanks for an entertaining evening. Well, if you have a laugh, then that's good. I'm glad that you did. Watching me sew and mumble away. All right. Have a great weekend, everyone, and I hope to see y'all soon. Take care and happy sewing.